Are you an indie game dev? Ever have imposter syndrome? Ever struggled to finish that game? Feel like a loser when you change game projects yet again? If you said yes to any of these, stick around. This one is for you. So as well as being a bit of a devlog, this video is going to be me sharing some of my game dev journey with you. And along the way, there'll be some tips, some words from the trenches. One thing is never give up. The power of persistence. You can see my video on maths for that. Progress, not perfection. We'll go more deeply into that. Next P, well, it's actually inner pride. Not comparing yourself to others. And the last one, P equals MV. Oh dear, momentum. Ah, yes. Momentum, so important. So the first game I worked on was the game you saw at the start, the zombie apocalypse game. At some point, I mean, I put a lot of work into that, but at some point, for whatever reason, I got sidetracked and started to work on this game, Midnight Taxi, which is built in 3D, but it uses shaders to make it look flatter and more like 2D. I put a lot of work into this as well. But eventually, have a guess, I got waylaid again. I've sped up some of these videos so that you're not going to be here forever. Okay, this is in Blender. This is a character I was animating for the game. He's a PI, detective. Now, I haven't scripted this, so I'm just going to sort of speak as it comes to mind. So as I said, I put a lot of work into that, but eventually I decided to change again, and I wanted to, because I was playing Core Keeper. Core Keeper was released, I bought that, I loved it, and I thought, this is great. I'd like to make my own version, which is usually how we start at a game, isn't it? We think, this is great. I could do this, I could do my own version. It would be different and interesting in cool ways. So here I am, I'm trying to make a 3D map generation tool so I can dynamically generate the maps. And yeah, it took a lot of work. I made a lot of progress. Yeah, it took months and months. I was absolutely 100% convinced that I was going to, that I was committed to releasing this game. But as you'll see eventually, those plans changed as well. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that really does feel like an effing loser every time that happens. Now, is this the dynamic? Yeah, this is one dynamically. I've made several versions of this. I'm not sure. I think this is one of the later ones, so it's, yeah. Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, it's not generating a lot in the way of content like, you know, metal ores or other things that you find or areas within the rock, but it does generate the mesh that allows you to mine it out quite quickly. Yeah, so I was having great fun. Well, fun, I mean, it's frustrating. All the iterations of code and stuff you need to go through to get to that kind of point. This is also in the same game. I put a lot of work into character customization stuff because I wanted the character, I wanted you to be able to take on take off armor and stuff like that. Here it is here. I had made a system. I thought about it a lot about how to do this, because the character, even though he's in a 3D world, the characters are actually done in 2D. So yeah, anyway, with some shader magic, I figured out ways to do what I wanted to do. That kind of leads me on in my mind to thinking about the term progress, not perfection. Because even though it can be really frustrating because you find yourself changing again to a different game when you were so committed to finishing this one, you poured so much of your energy, your life into it. And it can be really frustrating when you finally decide, shit, I want to put this aside for the time being. But yeah, so as long as the thing about progress, not perfection, is obviously that's not a perfect situation. Okay. But, as long as you are progressing, you're progressing in your game dev journey, then it's not wasted effort. You will retain some of the knowledge from the things you've gone through. And every time you go back and touch on that again, at first you will have forgotten it and you'll think, oh shit, haven't I done this already? How come I don't remember this stuff? I must be so stupid. And everybody feels this at one point or another. But every time you go back to it, you record, your base level of retention goes up a little bit. Okay, so don't despair. As long as you're learning, then you are progressing, and all is not lost by a long shot. Okay, hopefully this video is gonna hurry up and change to the next bit, because even though I was dead committed to finishing this, to making this my first released game, as you've kind of picked up, well, maybe not, but it didn't go that way. What have we got next? Okay, yeah, I think this is when I was making a video about procedural mesh generation, and I wanted to show people an example. So hopefully the lights will come on a bit more in a minute, and you'll see the underlying mesh. Yeah, there it is. There's the mesh of the 3D world that I create and delete in memory. Every time the guy, mines out a chunk of earth, or every time he fills in a hole or whatever. And there's some water with a water shader on it. All right. And then one day I came across a video on YouTube of a game called Human Fall Flat. Now, you've probably seen this. It's such a cool game in some ways. I really liked it, and I bought it. And I love this feeling of little worlds in the clouds. Here he goes, he's about to go off. And I had been messing around with cloud shaders to do my own sort of world in the clouds. And so I did get the idea that I'd love to do something similar. So here is a cloud bank made with some shaders from tutorials I found on YouTube. And that's cool. And I downloaded a Mixamo character and got stuck into, even though it's not animated right now, I just put in a third-person controller, started doing some simple modeling and creating a few brushes, and just seeing, yeah, there I've added some animation now. Just started to play around and see what I could get going. So the idea was starting to obviously take shape in my mind at the moment to do a similar kind of game, some kind of game in the clouds, fairly low poly, fairly pastel-y colors, and I was really starting to think, yeah, I'd like to make something similar-ish to Human Fall Flat, but put my own special spin on it. Yeah, I think I've sped this one up to double or triple speed. Oh yeah, I've added the beginnings of a simple building setup there. Yeah. Now, obviously, Human Fall Flat, the thing about that is that it's, what are they called again? Ragdoll, blah, 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 blah. Oops, this is when, this is when I started modeling my own character, but something happened with the rigging that really messed it up. That's all right. Here we go. Anyway, the ragdolls that have some springiness in them, can't quite remember the term right now, but I programmed up something like that, again following some tutorials from YouTube, and eventually got it working fairly well. But I thought I don't want to be using some model. I wanted to make a kind of a zombie themed game, so I was modeling up my own zombie in Blender, and that seemed to go fairly well. Good friend of mine, Adam, that I always bounce things off, seemed to like the model well enough. But getting the character controller working when you have one of these dynamic ragdoll, and again, I can't quite remember the word that goes with ragdoll. Yeah, but getting the character controller working is not always the easiest thing, as you can see. I mean, I guess you could say it's fun, but it's also frustrating. I don't have all the video from the different experiments and stuff that went on, but yeah, I did come across some difficulties. I did get this guy moving around in a more stable way eventually, that I was fairly happy with, and I was ready to continue on and start making the world, which I did make a little bit of. But at some point, you can see I'm just working on some low poly environment here. Again, something in my mind told me that I wanted to do something different. I think it was that basically I often stall on projects, and I thought I just want to make a much shorter game, which is more achievable, and just pump it out, get it out, release the bloody thing. And I remembered that I had all these different Cinti low poly assets, so I thought, rather than just going back to square one and making everything myself, why don't I just use some of the Cinti polygon stuff, low poly models, and make my own game with those. Because you know, it saves a lot of time. If you've already paid for the stuff, you might as well use it. And I thought I'd like to make, I was looking at what packs I had. Here I have, I've thrown a guy into one of the demo scenes, put a 3D controller on him, character controller. I've hooked up a zombie with some animations and sounds and so forth. Oh, that's right. And I did a lot of work on getting the hands rigged to a gun. But what I really wanted to do was the same kind of stuff, but a game set in Egypt. And I was thinking a kind of a secret agent type adventure set in Egypt. Why Egypt? Well, I don't know. I've always loved a lot of the look of Egypt, and I thought I'll go for some decent lighting, because lighting can really do wonders for your game, and it's just one thing I love in, not just in game development, but in life, is light. I love good lighting. So yeah, so here you can see some, I've put a fair bit of work in already. I've got this this character rigged with a weapon, carrying a machine gun around. This Bedouin camel train guy, That was actually a 3D printer model that I downloaded and hacked it up in Blender and animated it. And the same kind of thing with the camels. So yeah, I was quite happy with the work I got done on that. I just have a little gap here in my audio, so I'll just remind you not to compare yourself to other people. We're all on the same game dev journey. We're just at a different point on the road. I wanted to make this kind of a bit of an off-the-cuff video. I didn't want to make it too. I didn't want to make it too much of a big job to put it together. So I haven't scripted it, and I threw a lot of footage together from development that I'd been doing, all kinds of clips that I had. But I don't want to get bogged down too much in following what's on the screen exactly. I think I'll just think about the process of game dev and a few of the things that I brought up at the start that I wanted to go into in more detail. So I'll just let you watch the images as they go past, and I'll talk about the process a bit more. So yeah, Imposter Syndrome, where everybody that does game dev feels Imposter Syndrome to some extent. Even people that are very experienced, people like Jason Wyman from Jason's channel, Thomas Brush to some degree, who has put out a couple of games, David Whaley, who did the first tree. They all feel Imposter Syndrome. And I think not just game devs, but any creative people also feel it. You feel like, yeah, well Google Imposter Syndrome if you're not too clear on what it is. But it's basically the feeling that you're a fraud. You have no right to be doing what you're doing. How could you think that you could possibly do something like this? You're no good. You're just a pretend. You're a disgrace. So yeah, but it's a serious problem, and it's something that you have to keep. You know, when you feel it coming up on yourself, you just push it aside. You say, yeah, okay. You know, it's a kind of an inner voice that comes up, and these kind of voices. I don't mean a voice like Son of Sam from the dog or anything, but I think you know what I mean. But when you get, there's kind of like a message from your subconscious that tries to keep you in check or something. I'm not sure exactly, but when you feel it come up, just go, yep, thanks for the message. I know. And try and push it aside. But you're not an imposter. You are just somebody who is on a journey of trying to get better at making games. This is this guy that's currently on the screen. I wanted an older guy to play the part of kind of the boss of, say, James Bond. And I went to, what's it called, Mixamo, and I grabbed this guy, and I took his hat off. I edited the model in Blender, changed it a bit, I retextured it, and that's what I got. This is an eagle, that a low poly thing I put together. Because when I have a desert game, I've made a few desert at least scenes or maps for different games over the years. I love to put in some wildlife. But yeah, Imposter Syndrome, it's just one of those things. We all feel it. Try not to worry about it too much. Keep pumping yourself up. Tell yourself that you can do this. You've got this. And I believe you do. As long as you don't give up, you've got this. This is when I was doing some animation of the guy creeping around. And I think this is when I added the Buto fog, which is a volumetric fog package. Look at that. That's lovely lighting. The guy who makes the Buto fog package is a great guy. I communicated with him in email a little bit. Don't worry too much about my character being able to float through the air a bit here. But yeah, the Buto volumetric fog, it's very cheap. I think in a way he's kind of underpriced it. But it's very cheap, it's very performant, and can make a real difference to your game. So I would check it out. It's in the Unity Asset Store. It's in BUTO. And as I said, the guy's a nice guy. Go and check out Buto Fog. It's about $10 or something. Very cheap asset for what it does. And he responds to email, etc., etc. So yeah, good asset. Anywho, oh, there's my camel train on the hill in the distance. Another one that I had in those points at the beginning was momentum. I think I put a P equals MV because for anyone that did a bit of physics, P is momentum. I don't mean momentum in a physics sense. I mean momentum in the sense of the momentum that you get when you get excited about a game that you're working on. Some progress that you're making. Yeah, momentum in a sort of a sense of motivation, excitement, something that carries you forward. So when you feel that you've got that momentum for a game, try and capitalize on that. Yeah, put in overtime, because while you're feeling that that buzz, yeah, just go hard or go home. Yeah, momentum is key. I'm feeling a lot of momentum for this project at the moment. I'm working on this game currently, this espionage game set in Egypt. I've actually got a name for it, but that'll be revealed at the end of the video, which is probably not going to be too much longer, actually. This guy is the spy from the Sinti spy pack. And for whatever reasons, I decided I didn't just want to use their spy character. One of the main reasons is because the character doesn't have much of a face, and I want to be able to zoom in close and do facial animation and be able to put a lot of emotion into the character for cutscenes and other reactions to things. So I thought, okay, so how the hell am I going to do this? So I took this model into Blender, and I was thinking, okay, I'm a bit of a noob at, excuse me. Okay, there's a snake about to kill a cat, or vice versa. Nope, the cat's not having any of that. So anyway, here we go. I went and grabbed this model, or a similar one to this that had facial rig already done. Oh no, that's right. I started to do that, and I cut the head off this model, but eventually anyway, I can't remember which I did, whether I used that model or I used the Sinti one and changed it. I think I took that simplified cartoony model and turned it into a bit more of a James Bondy type of face. A little bit more masculine, a little bit less cartoony. But it actually looks a little bit like Sean Connery in Dr. No. I don't know if you can see that, but it does a little bit to me anyway. So I was pretty happy with that. And so I joined the head to the body, and then I went and spent many hours learning about rigging so I could get all this working. and eventually managed to get this pretty cool rig on that. Don't worry about the fact that the eyes don't seem to be parented correctly at the moment. There's a few things I've still got to do, but yeah, as I mentioned before, momentum. I feel a lot of satisfaction with having put the time in, even though it's frustrating to not know things. I'm learning all the time, learning about Blender. Okay, and here's my my logo for the game and the name, Mummy Please. This particular graphic I put together for Twitter. I guess the YouTube equivalent wouldn't be follow, it would be subscribe. So please, by all means, if you'd like to track my progress on this game and see if I change projects yet again. Hint, I won't be. Yeah, please subscribe. Also, if you've learned anything at all or gotten any help from this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It's a small thing for you to do, but it really does make a difference. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, throw a comment down if anything in this video resonates with you, or if you have taken heart that you're not alone, because you're certainly not. Yes, I guess that's most of what I wanted to say at this point. Yeah, thanks for watching and stick at it. We're all together in this. Progress, not perfection. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be progressing towards your goals, and you will get there. Okay. Good on you guys. Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye.